Welcome to Soft Bad Monkey, a safe space for savages. This podcast is comedy. We don't discriminate. We don't care about your race, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity. We make fun of everyone equally. We are veterans, offensive by nature, so if there's kids in the car, turn us off. Seriously, I'll wait. We've evolved. It's still JD and Uncle Steve, but now we have Paulie. As for Jay, he's fluffing on man porn. We talk like we are in the team room, platoon space, or whatever you call it. We're meat eaters and knuckle draggers, so put on your fucking helmet because we're coming in hot. Welcome to another episode of Soft Bad Monkey with your host, Jason Delgado,
Steve Ralston,
and Paulie, the Leatherman.
Gentlemen.
Leatherman.
Multi-tool.
Leather tool.
Leather tool?
The leather tool.
The leather tool. Hey, on this episode, we are going to be interviewing Warrant Officer Nick Lavery, who is probably one of the toughest dudes ever, and his photograph is easily the baddest ass American photo ever. He's the one above the knee amputee SF guy. The first one cleared to go back into a combat role.
Yeah.
6'5", 260 pounds. Ain't nowhere for that fucking guy to hide, man. Nowhere for him to hide.
That's a big dude.
That's a really big dude. Exactly. We're going to go into a story when he gets on. And when he showed up to his team, they were talking about they were going to haze him. And then they saw him. They're like, nah, I don't think so. Well, one, he's a former football player and a MMA fighter, too. So, like, of all the dudes to haze,
Not the guy.
the 6'5" guy chiseled out of solid stone is not him.
Yeah.
So, Paulie, you want to get him on there?
Gotcha.
That's badass, dude. You look so mean, no one wants to haze you.
Exactly.
They're like, nah, just let him in, dog. Let him in.
Oh, Nick. How you doing, bro?
Hey, what's up, boys? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Paulie is making a couple changes to the screen right now so we can actually see you when we're talking to you. That'll take about a second. But I was just talking not talking trash about you, really. I was just talking about you being 6'5", 260-ish, and chiseled out of solid stone. And then when you showed up to your team, the guys were thinking about hazing you, and then they saw you, and they were like, well, maybe that's not such a great idea.
That is a true story. Yes, sir.
Right on. The guy that was thinking about hazing you, who was that guy, and what was his experience level? Other than, a new guy shows up at the team, you're going to give him a little bit of nonsense, but what was this cat's little bit of his background, as much as you can say, as vanilla as possible?
Yeah, so that dude, senior guy, he had what is commonly known as a Napoleonic
Yeah, we got a Paulie over here.
to make up for it with aggressiveness. Yeah, so he had this elaborate scheme, which, at least back when I first got to group, the initiation process was rough, and that's just the way business was conducted. And he had some ideas, and he did not act on those. I didn't find out about this for like over a year. We were in Afghanistan hanging out, and some of the other guys that I was with told me about it, and I just kind of laughed. And I actually told him, I was like, hey, I would have done whatever you told me to do. And his response was, we were not about to try that with you. We had no idea the kind of guy we were getting, and so we changed our mind pretty quick.
Which is awesome, because you can imagine a new guy shows up and he's 6'5", 260, and he's a former football player and an MMA fighter. Not like a professional MMA fighter, but he's always been involved in those kind of sports.
What part of the stack you prefer?
What part of what? Say it again.
What position in the stack you prefer, being the size you are?
You're talking football, yeah?
No.
He's talking about on the door.
Yeah, on the door.
Oh, I mean, if I can be number one, man, and that's where I'm trying to be. But
bro, can you imagine?
Always play out that way.
A silhouette coming in the door. What the fuck?
No, dude, the fucking Hodgies just die of fucking fright, man.
Just like, Jesus Christ, they fucking sent a truck in here after us. No, a little backstory on Nick. Nick went to college in Boston, got a degree in criminology, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, did the whole 4 years, and then he wants to be in the military. So he played football. He comes out and he does his research in the military. And then the only guys that could do him right was the Army with the 18 X-ray program. So he chose to go in enlisted so he could get a shot right at SF right out of the gate and fucking knocked it out, which is commendable, because he could have went in and done the officer thing, you know, like the rest of the, well, not the rest of them, but several of them come in, do a couple platoons or whatever, and then they're flying a desk for the rest of it. So now he took exactly the opposite route. So how was that experience?
Yeah, man. I mean, I kind of knew even before I graduated that I was going to end up looking back at enlisting, which was my original plan back in high school. The only thing that deterred that was when I started to get looked at to play football. So that's really the only reason why I went to college. So once I finished grinding out my degree, I started looking at options. And I went to one of the recruiting buildings in downtown Boston, and they had the Navy, the Marines, and the Army all in the same building. There were like literally 3 offices back to back to back next to each other. And I'd known a little bit about the military, a little bit about special operations, a whole lot of detail. Walked straight to the Navy's office and said, hey, what's it take to be a SEAL? And at that time, there was no way to go directly to BUDS and to get onto a SEAL team. So I said, okay, cool. I'll be right back. I walked 2 doors down, talked to the Marines, had the same exact conversation, got pretty much the same response, and then said, okay, cool, thanks, I'll be right back. Walked down the hall, talked to the Army guys, and their answer was different. They're like, hey, we got this option. It's called 18 X-ray. Gives you a chance to go straight in to SF. This is what ODAs do. And I said, cool, thanks. I left. I went home. I did a bunch of homework, a couple of weeks. And even though the X-ray program gave me the chance to go straight into soft, which is what I wanted, after doing my homework, that really was the better option for me. It was what I was drawn to. Even if I had the chance to go directly into any branch, special ops, I still would have chose SF, just based on the wide array of mission sets that SF is expected to do. And I was drawn to that. So took that contract and, kind of began my enlistment process.
Well, after doing the research, how long till you signed on a dotted line to go do that deal?
It was quick. I'd say maybe 2 weeks.
Right on.
It was a fast turnaround, yeah.
So you go into boot camp, and how old were you? What, 20, 22, 24, what?
Started basic training, I was 24 years old.
Right on. So you go to basic training, that's 16 weeks, right?
Correct.
Right. So how was that? You're obviously, again, you're the fucking biggest guy in there. You're probably the oldest guy in there. And so I'm sure they put you in a leadership position right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. To make things even more interesting, so it took me 6 years to graduate college. I played football for 4. So the last 2 years when I was still in school, I kind of transitioned my training and got into strongman stuff and powerlifting stuff. I just wanted to get as big and strong as I could, which kind of helped me with some of the work I was doing. I was doing nightclub security and VIP security, and being just a dude helped me in that aspect. So when I decided to enlist, when I knew I was going to, I put myself on, it was around a 16-week program to just trim off as much weight as I could. So when I started that, I was around 305 pounds. I mean, I was massive. When I showed up to basic training, I was about 245, 250, but I was ripped because I had been so big before. So on day one, and I'm just chiseled out of rock. And I say that the humility, but it's just the reality. And literally on day one, they do their tattoo inspections. So we get for like 7 hours straight. So like I'm all pumped up. I got veins going through my shoulders, and make everyone strip. So they check out tattoos. I'm pretty sure it was more like a psychological thing. Three of my drills around me, and they're just looking at me up and down. And they're like, "What's your deal, dude?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm here to go to basic training." And they're like, "No. Like, who sent you?" They legitimately thought that I was some kind of like Army test subject that they were sending in. It was all these weird, inaccurate theories that were getting floated around. But once we kind of worked through that, they're like, "All right, check it out. You are in charge of this platoon, and we're leaving for the night. And when I get back tomorrow, I want to see everyone in their beds where we left them." And I'm like, "Okay, roger that." I did not realize that how challenging that was going to be, given that I was surrounded by a bunch of 17, 18-year-old kids who literally, some of them on the first night of basic, were trying to like run away and just leave. And I'm chasing these kids through the hallways. I'm dragging them back to their beds. I was up all night. And that continued for a lot of the 16 weeks.
I can see them walking down the hallway holding their ankles and shit like, "Come on back, stupid."
They're dragging them back, and they got like a fucking burn mark on their face and shit from the.
Those drill instructors got lucky, bro.
Oh yeah, they were like, "Our job's easy, man. Look at this fucking guy."
He's a bouncer, dude.
So you do your babysitting, you do your fucking babysitting as 16 weeks of basic training, and then what? They send you off to airborne school, right?
Yeah, so I was at basic at Benning, Fort Benning, went down the street, from there straight to airborne school. I think that's 3 weeks, something like that. I don't remember. And then knocked that out, and then, yeah, from there to, and, you know, have a holding pattern for a little bit. You know, back when I was getting into SF, the courses weren't as seamlessly aligned as they are now, so there was a lot of white space kind of in between all the different phases. So I kind of sat around for a couple of weeks, just would do PT twice a day and just show up to these random formations to make sure I was still alive. And then I went into SOPSI, or at least what was called SOPSI back then. I think it was Special Operations Preparation Course or something like that. It was specifically for X-rays. And it was designed as a 5-week course, Monday through Friday, and down at Camp McCall. And it was just a course to get you ready for selection. Well, on around the 4th or 5th day of that, they realized that the next selection class, which was starting the following week, was actually short on some bodies. So they took like the top 5% or 10% physically performing dudes that were in SOPSI with me and pushed us to selection early. So I was only in SOPSI for about a week. And then I found myself in selection a couple months sooner than I was scheduled for, which was fine by me. I was ready to get that thing going as soon as possible.
Right on. So you're in selection early. So that's about a 2-year process, correct?
The Q course start to finish, you know, it's MOS dependent. The medics have about twice as long. Once they go into their MOS phase, it's considerably longer than the rest of us. It took me about, I'd say about 2 years to get to everything. And that's just with a lot of the time that was in between the phases. You know, you'd go to small unit tactics and you'd wait around for a month, maybe 2. You know, then you go to SEA school, come back, wait around for another month or 2. So the newest version of the Q course, which is what they're referring to as the optimized Q course, really eliminates all that space. So students are going in and they're just going boom, 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 back to back. So it's a much faster process to get guys through.
Excellent. What was the most challenging segment of Q course for you?
Language school was up there. That comes to mind fast, and that's obviously it's not physical. It was 6 months of learning Russian, and you know, some people have maybe that side of their brain switched on. I feel like it's the same side of your brain associated with playing an instrument or being an artist. Yeah. Maybe I may just be making that up, but language for me was really challenging, and what made it more challenging was the first one we did while in language school, which was about a week. I landed on the runway, and so the first 4 months of the 6 months of language school, I couldn't sit down. So I was either standing or I was kneeling. And, it's not that big of a deal, but it just made what was already challenging for me that much more challenging. So, yeah, that comes to mind as being at the top of what was the more difficult for me.
Right on. So you get through the Q course, and then you get assigned to your team. So what's that like? Showing up there, the fucking new guy and all that shit. How's that go down?
It was kind of like you said. I show up as the new guy. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no Army experience at all. I get told the battalion that I'm going to, and that's it. So initially I get assigned to 3rd Group, which is at Fort Bragg. So I don't have to really travel very far. I just kind of go down the street, and I literally show up, and I'm just meandering around the 3rd Group area, which back at that time was kind of spread out in a couple different areas. It wasn't like it is now in 3rd Group, and it really actually all the active SF groups, they all have kind of their own. Back then, there were just random buildings in different places. So I find the battalion. This is a funny story. I find the battalion. I can't get into it because you require the key card. So I'm standing outside, just like hoping someone opens the door. I walk in. I'm meandering down the hallway. I got this checklist. I'm supposed to go to S1, S2. I don't even know what any of this means. So I'm kind of clueless. And a dude comes up to me. He's wearing PTs, and he's like, "Hey man, you lost?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I have no idea what I'm doing. I go get a signature like this guy, and he immediately hears me talking. He's like, "You from Boston?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "No shit." He's like, "Hey, come with me." So we're walking down the hall, and we're talking about the Red Sox and the Patriots and whatever. And we walk in this office, and he's just talking to me about where I grew up, where he grew up, blah, blah, blah. And he goes around, he sits behind the desk, and I all of a sudden kind of take it in that I'm in the battalion commander's office. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. Well, this guy's super cool. So we're just kind of bullshitting. And out of the office next door is this bellowing, deep, angry voice. And he's just like, and I quote, "Who the fuck is talking to the battalion commander like that?" And I immediately just go, "Oh boy, this is not going to be good." And in comes the battalion sergeant major, Sergeant Major Spratt, who is an awesome dude. And he actually had just left SWIC like a month before that. So he comes walking in, big barrel-chested, old school, salty dude. And I don't know if I'm supposed to be at attention or parade rest. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands. I'm just a complete mess. He chews into me for a minute. I'm looking over at Colonel Riga, at the time, Colonel Riga. And I'm like, "Hey, dude, you're going to help me out here, man? Like, you totally
And then, I bet you his face was like, nothing is happening.
Oh yeah, no, he just sat back in his chair just watching, like, yep, this is happening right now. Enjoy this, dude. So I get yelled at for a little bit.
Welcome to the Army. We're sadistic as fuck.
Welcome to the unit.
Oh man.
So he chewed on you for a while, and you sit back down? Did you sit back down with the colonel, or did you get scampered off somewhere else?
No, I got out of there as fast as humanly possible.
And then did you get all your signatures and check into all the different departments and all that shit?
Yeah, so eventually I figured it out, man. I found out where my company was. I meandered over there, and I met the ops sergeant for the B team. I met the company sergeant major, sat down with him. I found out what team I was going to. I got introduced to those guys, and just kind of went from there.
Right on. So, and how long was the training with your team before you went down range?
So before that first trip, I had maybe 7 months, something like that. So speaking of language, when I was in the Q course, I learned Russian. When I first got to third, the entire company was deployed, and they only had about a month or 2 left. So rather than sending me down range to meet my team over there, they decided to send me back to language school, only this time to learn Dari, which is the predominant language spoken in Afghanistan.
So how was that?
Now back in language hell. Yeah. So I go back into that. I think I was in Dari for maybe 4 months, 5 months. During that time, my team had come back, and they were going through their refit process. So I get out of language school. I actually get to the team. And I think maybe we had, I want to say like 8 months or so. At that time, especially in third group, we were doing, doing nine months off. So it was a real fast turn, just the nature of kind of owning Afghanistan as third group did for a really long time. So yeah, about 8 months. And, that's really not a long time, especially when you're drinking from a fire hose. I graduated as an 18 Bravo, which is with a weapons sergeant. And I didn't have a senior on the team, so I was the only weapons guy on the team. I'm supposed to be the subject matter expert on all things weapons and tactics. And of course, I barely do anything at all. Different gadgets that I had no idea what they did, but I was the expert on that stuff. So I was just reading training manuals and trying to figure out what my job was. Did some collective training with the guys, and then we deployed.
Right on. So your first time, you're landing in Afghanistan, you're getting all your fucking shit together, and then what was that oh shit moment like? We're really fucking here. We're really doing this thing.
Pretty much right when I got off the plane, we landed in camp, and we were working split team ops in Kandahar, and my senior medic and him and a couple guys pick us up in some Land Rover at CAF, and they take us on to Camp Brown, which is the SF camp on CAF. And I'm just trying to absorb what's going on. I wanted to be. I enlisted to go to Afghanistan, so it's all. But that said, it's a lot to try to digest. You guys know as well as I do. And I'll never forget Scott, our medic. He picks us up and we bring us on to Brown. And I'm just talking to him, and he busts out this map, and he's talking to me on the hood about the layout of our camp that we're about to go to the following day. And he's talking to me about access points and what the security looks like, which is the responsibility of the Bravo section is base security. So he's just giving me the lay of the land, and I'm just kind of taking it in, just listening to what he's saying. What he really was doing was prepping me for me to then go do my job once I got down there, which took a little bit for me to just kind of get switched on.
It's a barrage. You're like overwhelmed. You're like, oh my God, what's happening? I don't even know where I'm at. It's like a disorientation.
Yeah, man, crazy. What at the time seemed just nuts. You fast forward, you do it a few times, and it's just kind of normal. But all of a sudden, we jump into some Land Cruisers or some Hiluxes or whatever, and we're bombing, through Afghanistan to get to our site. And I'm just like, okay, well, here we are. This is it. That pretty much went on for almost 10 months. That trip was a long one, and it was a nonstop learning process.
10 months? You got any R&R in between?
No, man.
Whoa,
we went
bro. That's a freaking deployment and a half, dude. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a long trip.
So how were you doing missions every day, every other day? What was your op tempo like?
Op tempo was busy. My first team was a bit of a specialty team, so we didn't operate in the same function as a standard ODA. We focused more on low visibility type operations. It was busy. It was different than what I had envisioned in my when I had to go up and be running around doing more of the direct action type. It wasn't our mission, so it was unique in that aspect. But given that it was my first trip, it was just that's what we did. And then it really wasn't until I got back from that first trip and went into a bunch of individual schools. And while I was there, while I was in one of the schools I was in, the company sergeant major reached out and hit me up, and he said, "Hey man, we have an opening on direct action teams, and I think you make a good fit." And I talked to your team sergeant, and although he wants you to stay, he understands that you may want to do more of the standard ODA type stuff. And anyway, the option's there if you want it. And I had that conversation with my team sergeant. So after my first trip, I actually switched ODAs and went to one that was a DA focused team. And not to just fast forward too far, but on that next trip, so now my second trip, we're doing VSO, which stands for Village Stability Operations, a term that's pretty much gone away, but it's a very low footprint, low signature. You're working in very austere environments. And all of a sudden I find myself on a mountaintop with really nothing. And the difference between my living conditions on the first trip and the second one were as drastic as they can get. And all of a sudden I realized, okay, this is actually how ODAs are designed to live and operate. So my first trip, I learned a lot, but it also, in a couple ways, kind of set me up for failure moving forward, because I had kind of a cush living situation where we were in Kandahar versus my second trip in Wardak, which was rugged and austere, to say the least.
Right on. And when were you injured? Was it on your second, on your third?
On my second trip.
On your second trip.
Second, yeah.
Right. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, man. So the injury itself, and we knew going into that trip it was going to be busy, right? With a less scary word to say, we were going to be fighting a lot. So it proved to be that, right from the gate. And a lot of guys got banged up. A lot of guys lost their lives during that trip before I ended up getting as critically wounded as I was. Prior to this, I had been wounded 2 other times. Nothing that was too serious. I took my shoulder during an operation, and then a couple months later, I took an AK round to the face, which sounds worse than it is. It really just kind of grazed my cheek and ripped it open a little bit. Minimal healing time, no big deal. The third time I got banged up was ultimately what ended up resulting in me losing my leg. It was an insider attack. We had maybe 2 weeks left in the trip, and we were doing a joint operation. Our intercept that lived with us on the camp. We also had Afghan National Police with us. We had Afghan National Conventional Army with us, and we had Afghan local police with us. So we had 4 different units that we were doing this with, which was pretty typical for us, depending on the mission and the day. But it also makes it really difficult to track who you're doing an operation with, because they're swapping dudes in and out, left and right, which is a significant lesson learned kind of moving forward. Is mitigating that is critical. Otherwise, it makes it impossible to pick up on, different characteristic traits, things that are different about different individuals. So you're able to kind of pick up on something that's changed that kind of gets your spidey sense going. If it's just random dudes all the time, it's really hard to do that. We're going through our pre-comms checks, pre-mission brief. The entire team and a couple of our attachments were kind of just in a circle doing comms checks like we normally do. And during that process, one of the A&P troops jumped up on the back of a Ford Ranger that had a PKM on it and began opening fire into the crew from about 15 feet away.
So this is one of the cats you were supposed to be going out with. It turned out he was fucking Taliban, and he jumped up on fucking Hilux or whatever and opened up on you guys.
Yeah.
That's
what happened.
That reminds me of, I'm sorry not to cut you, but Steve, you brought up something a long time ago. You were on an op, and something had changed last minute. I believe it was a vehicle situation.
Right.
And you just canked the entire operation.
Right.
Because you don't fuck with anything like that last minute.
No, last minute, there's too much. It's been my experience, my limited experience. Anything that's fucking last minute that's important, I just fucking don't do it.
Yeah.
It's
hard though for them out there because
it's
dropping off.
Well, a totally different situation as a fucking contractor and a fucking SF unit. It's a totally different fucking deal, But that's when shit starts feeling fucking weird, man. When your gut starts telling you shit's wrong, it just is.
So who was dictating to you guys a majority of the individuals you were going to cross train with, or should I say cross pollinate with? Who's like pushing them down your way? Like, hey, these are these yoo-hoos and these are those yoo-hoos. Make them better.
Yeah. So So the structure over there at the time was a mess, and they were really trying to kind of reformat the whole AO and get more local presence and local security apparatuses that were tied into the local government. So you had your elder, kind of your old school Afghan style leadership that existed, but they were also trying to create more of a legitimate local and regional government apparatus, and those guys were constantly at odds. So the alliance between the local police, the national police, the army was a mess. And this is an area of the world that's been around, and they've operated a very particular way since the beginning of time. And we are trying to influence the way they're doing business and the way they structure themselves. So it created a lot of conflict internal. So you'd have a government official that would be pushing us different bodies, and their internal leadership would want to do something else. So we're trying to manage that and deconflict all that, which, is really part of the job of an ODA, is to be able to manage that stuff. But regardless, it's really difficult to do. And more so, kind of back to the point is it's for force protection purposes. If you're getting that many different guys randomly, if this guy shows up with a shaved head and no jewelry, but it's the first time I've seen him, I have no baseline to go off of to determine if that's out of whack or if that's just the way this guy always is, as opposed to if I'm getting the same crew all the time and we're getting to know these guys, getting to know their character traits, their motivations, their vulnerabilities, all that stuff. Then you're able to pick up when things are different and things are weird. And hopefully that kind of clues you in on, okay, something's not right, we need to reassess. We didn't have that luxury, which, made the mission more challenging, but at the end of the day, like, you have a mission to do, and this is what you need to do. And part of our mission there, and this is 2012, we knew that we were going to be making a substantial drawdown from Afghanistan come early 2014. So our job, one of our missions, was to create white space around where we were, professional troops to be able to retrograde and get all their stuff from where they were to one of the major bases. So tough situation to deal with, and the result of what happened on that particular day, March 13th, 2013. There are times when an ODA and the leadership and the guys on it may have to supersede whatever that is at that given moment. If something is seeming strange, and I'm guilty of this as well on that exact day. Again, 18 Bravo's base security, when we first got there and began doing operations, our camp, which wasn't much of a camp, had a couple broken down HESCOs, and that was really it. I would come out of my little hut one morning, and there would just be Afghans like cruising around all over the place, AKs, whatever, different uniforms. I'm like, what? Who are all these people? There was no structure at all. So we cut that off. We segregated our internal camp for us and the ANASF team, and then we had an external perimeter that had our motor pool, and that's where we did all of our pre-comms checks and pre-comms mission brief or pre-mission briefs. And we only allowed the leadership of the units to actually come into the motor pool to receive the brief. Well, on this particular day, more than leadership showed up, including and I will never forget sitting there, and I see the truck, and I see a couple extra bodies, and I'm immediately pissed. And rather than stopping and dealing with it right there and then, I said to myself, all right, we'll do the mission, we'll get back, I'll talk to the captain, he'll talk to the leadership, and we'll get this thing fixed. That decision is one that I live with, daily, and I will have to for the rest of my life. Not to say that if I had spoken up, would anything have changed? Maybe not. This guy was on a mission. He probably would have executed that mission regardless, because of where we were in relation to him and the close proximity of all of us. It was the ideal scenario to enact that ambush.
And honestly speaking, brother, they would have vouched for him even if you pimped him right then and there. Like, who the fuck are you? A bunch of them would have been, oh, he's good, he's so it would have happened like you said, regardless.
Well, not only that, with those motherfuckers, there's no telling who paid who to do what or whatever the fuck. So you got fucking tore up. How many you took? What, 3-4 rounds or what?
Yeah, so I took what was estimated to be 4 rounds to my right leg, and I took 1 to my lower left leg. Yeah, so the way the series of events went down is before the end of the pre brief, I actually can. My comms are up. I'm good to go. That probably maybe saved my life because I was just about at my vehicle when the rounds went off behind me. So I snapped my head around, and dudes are just falling left and right. And I have a piece of cover. I have a truck right next to me that I should go and get behind. Yeah. Right, that's what my training tells me to do. Although I also see one of our infantry uplift just frozen, and he's not more than 15 feet away from the shooter, and he's just a deer in the headlights. 18, 19-year-old kid, first deployment, and rather than doing what I'm trained to do, I moved. So I moved it to basically tackle him inadvertently. I end up on the ground on top of him, and that was when I get stitched up. Boom, 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 boom. And like I said, I'd been hit a couple times before, so I was unfortunately familiar with it. This was a little different. A 7.62 by 54 rim coming out of a PKM from 15, 20 feet feels like a sledgehammer. So I knew I was hit at least once. I dragged this kid and myself behind a truck and do a quick assessment of him. He's fine. Grab a rifle that was laying on the ground in my vicinity and begin engaging the shooter along with the rest of my teammates. One of my teammates, rightfully so, is credited with taking this guy out with some really well, accurately placed shots. And this entire sequence of events took, maybe 10, 15 seconds. It was pretty fast. So once the internal threat was gone, we currently began taking machine gun and mortar rounds from outside of our camp. So this was a coordinated attack, coordinated ambush. Mm-hmm. So the immediate threat's gone. We're still getting some machine gun fire and some other stuff. And I began to work on myself. So I kind of ripped what's left of my pants open to look at my leg, and it's just hammered meat at this point, just bone and chunks of flesh. And I see a stream of blood from where I had been hit to where I was, and it was substantial. So I know immediately that my femoral artery has at least been severed or cut, and I have, maybe 8 or 9 minutes until I'm out of blood. So grab a tourniquet, I slap that on, wrench it down as hard as I can. I kind of got probably pass out at some point, and I kind of come to. It's still bleeding. I get a second tourniquet, I put that on, and wrench that down as hard as I can. And at that point, I kind of feel like my work was done. At this point, our junior medic, who's actually a National Guard attachment, he really began taking over. Our senior medic, who was organic to my ODA, was also hit. So there are, I think it was 11 U.S. casualties that are now on the ground, as well as another 15 or so Afghans. So it's an enormous mass kill scenario. So our junior medic, phenomenal dude, performed beautifully. He's going into triage, and he gets to me, and I tell him, get away. I did all I could, go work on someone who you can save. I was convinced that I was going to bleed out. And, not to sidetrack, but people usually ask, what's that like? And I was strangely fine with it. And I was annoyed and frustrated that out of all the ticks and firefights I'd been in, the way I was going to go was being shot by a dude who I had taught. I was surprisingly content. None of my teammates listened to me. They got some IV, they got some other interventions going. But in the chaos, I did eventually grab some combat gauze, and I balled it up because I was still bleeding. And I loosened up one of the tourniquets, and I just ram this gauze in around. I'm trying to find the femoral artery. I'm trying to find a pulse. I think I feel something at this point. My dexterity is kind of gone to shit. I'm kind of just dealing with these meat mittens that I really can't feel much, but I think I feel something. And I wrench another tourniquet down on top of that. And at that point, I was pretty much done. I was pretty much out of options. So I kind of just shifted my focus to the other guys that were injured, that were clearly in pain and scared and freaking out. So I just kind of dragged myself over towards those guys and, just talk to them, do what I could from that point. And because the firefight was ongoing for so long until our combat controller got every air platform in theater and just began nuking the entire valley, I was on the ground for almost 90 minutes before the medevac bird could actually land.
Well past the golden hour, and then to boot the other individuals that took injuries. That's crazy.
So so where do they take you from Kandahar?
So again, we're in Wardak at this point, and they end up taking us to Fob Shank, which was where the AOB was located. And although they had a lower level of care compared to Bagram, it was a shorter flight. So they went with versus I get to Shank, I'm on the first medevac bird out, and I get right into the treatment facility. I clearly need blood bad, and they put me on a transfusion, and unfortunately they put me on a transfusion of the wrong blood type. So my entire body shuts down, and they know what, they just know that I'm crashing fast. They call up Bagram and they say, hey man, we're going to throw this dude on a bird, send him to you, but he's not going to survive the flight. So just be prepared to receive the body. They of course assumed it was because of the level of trauma that my body had experienced on the ground. So I fly to Bath and I code on that flight. So they were kind of right in the terms of me not surviving it. Get to Bagram, and while I'm on the flight to Bagram is when they realized what had happened with the blood transfusion. So they get me straight into surgery at Bath, and they put me on another transfusion with my actual blood type, and they take off my leg just below the knee just to try to minimize the amount of damage that my body's trying to recover from. At this point, my liver and kidneys are all failing, and it's really touch and go. I'm pretty much just hanging on by a thread. Get into surgery, and then I'm in intensive care at Bagram for maybe 5 or 6 days until I was stable enough to get put on an airplane. Get put on a flight. They fly me to Germany. I'm only there for a night. They take off my leg higher, right up to the knee in Germany, and then they fly me to Walter Reed, and that was where I really began my surgery escapade.
So you were in Walter Reed for a year, though, right?
Just about a year. The first, I want to say, month, I was in intensive care, and it was real touch and go at that point. From there, I moved to inpatient status. I was in inpatient for, I want to say, around 8 or 9 weeks, and I was going through usually 3 or 4 surgeries a week. And at this point, what they were fighting was the infection. Remove that portion of my leg, pump me full of antibiotics, and then kind of rinse and repeat every other day until the infection subsided. And I'll also never forget, when I first got to Walter Reed, my surgeon, he came in to visit me, still a great friend of mine. And he goes, hey, man, my entire staff wants to take your leg at the hip right now. Just get rid of the problem and get you moving on with your, I think I can save more of your leg. It's just going to be a battle, and I need you ready to fight this thing with me. And I'm on ketamine and Dilaudid, and I barely know where I'm at. And I'm just like, yeah, man, let's do it. So I pretty much asked for it. We ended up being around 30, 35 surgeries, but I'm obviously very grateful for that, even though I'm a very high above the knee. My maybe about 4 inches in length. I am still able to operate and function as an above the knee amputee as opposed to a hip disc articulation, which are two entirely different things. I always tell people when it comes to amputations, it's really not the loss of the limb, it's the loss of the joint that really makes the difference. And nowadays we can replicate a tibia or a femur pretty easy, but we haven't quite got to the point where we're able to replicate the ankle, the knee, or the hip, or the elbow. the same way God created it for us. So the difference between an above the knee and a hip dysartic is night and day. And I'd like to think that I would have been able to overcome anything. If I'm looking at it realistically, if they had done what my surgeon staff wanted to do from day one, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. So there's almost no way.
I imagine what you're trying to explain is the ability to build momentum with that limb. You know, albeit not a complete limb, but you could still build momentum and pick yourself up with it. Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really becomes, what muscles do you have that can control a non-existent joint? And because I still have my hip and I have some length below it, I'm able to drive my hip forward using just my hip to actuate, which then allows me to walk and run and do stuff. If you remove the hip, or if you take the only way to actuate what you now have a hip joint, an artificial hip joint, and an artificial knee joint, is through your core. So you basically have to rotate like you're doing a hula hoop, and that gets all the joints to kind of swing and actuate. But it's really difficult.
At some point, that would cause a lot of deformity as well because of the uneven way in which you're distributing weight. You're like trying to generate weight from your rib cage, basically, if that's gone. Yeah, it's not like you can't generate from the ground anymore, like you still can.
Yeah, it's night and day difference, brother. I mean, the same with, you know, being a below the knee guy versus above the knee guy.
Wow.
We the above the knee guy, where we call below the knee amputees paper cuts because it's barely an injury. I say that obviously, talking shit.
And still, there's fucking shit talking.
I know.
I love that.
The best part is, no matter how long we've been in this fucking business, you learn something new every day. Now we know these motherfuckers talk shit about the dudes with less fucking amputee. Like, hey, fucking
That's
paper
a fucking
cut.
paper cut.
I love it, dude. Thank you for bringing us into that.
That's
Feel free to
obviously.
use that whenever you want.
Hell
they love
yeah.
hearing that shit.
Next time I see somebody with a below the knee, I'm like, the paper cut ass shit out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, you're gonna be on your own on that deal, man. I don't want
Never mind.
I don't want to get punched in the fucking head.
Yeah, you gotta hook me up the ass. Probably some fucking judo fucking expert and
You
shit.
get a fake foot in your fucking eye hole.
So how is it rolling with guys practicing?
You talking jiu-jitsu?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I began my amputee jiu-jitsu curriculum at Walter Reed. There's an awesome dude. He owned a jiu-jitsu studio downtown in D.C., and he would come once a week and teach amputees or any type of injury jiu-jitsu. So I was kind of back to square one, man, and I've been in combat sports most of my life. And what was more difficult than learning new techniques was unlearning years and years of what had just become reaction. That was difficult to really just kind of wipe the canvas clean and begin fresh. But it started off rocky. You know, I have this little stump that I have left, but it's filled with kind of spiky bone, which can happen when a bone is amputated traumatically. It tries to grow back, and it creates all these little bone spurs. Yeah. So I can't put any pressure directly on it. I mean, I could, but it's
it starts
painful.
To feel like severing your tendons and shit.
Yeah. So my game began just without anything, and I would play from a seated position and just kind of work from my back and from a seated position and stuff like that until I started getting my prosthetist to try to fabricate some type of attachment that I could actually put on my leg so that I could put some downward pressure on it. So I think the one I'm on now is probably version 20 because we've modified it over the years. But essentially, it's the same type of socket that I normally wear, except it's just completely smoothed out. There's no rough edges. All the valves are rescinded within it to prevent me from scraping somebody or hurting anyone else.
I wanted to get.
It's got traction on the bottom.
Lag. I hate it. I hate this lag so much, brother. I wanted to get to this, but I wanted to get to it after you explain how you went through the process to get recertified and drop back in. But now we're talking about the prosthetics and that you're working on some of your own prototypes. Trying to get work the kinks out. Like now that you're doing the fucking thing. Like, is Big Army coming in? I mean, who, you know, are we talking about fucking MIT grads helping you out with the prosthesis? What's going on?
I've been fortunate to have some assistance from a lot of different organizations. There's a million now nonprofits that are out there doing stuff for combat wounded guys. When it comes to my jiu-jitsu specifically, I pretty much drove the train on that myself, along with my local prosthetists who were awesome, and they were like, I got it. We just tinkered and tried to. But on that note, not jump forward too far, but I'll just kind of tee it up. When I was in dive school just this past May into June, I was given a fin to use for my train-up.
I saw that. I saw that on your Instagram. That's pimp.
Yeah, man. I walked into my prosthetics office, my prosthetist office, and I said, hey, man, this is after I graduated the warrant course. Hey, man, I'm now on a dive team, and I need to take a shot at dive school. And he's like, cool, what do you need? I was like, I need a fin. He's like, all right. So he reached out to a local vendor, and a couple weeks later, this fin showed up. And I'm like, oh, roger that. This is what I got. And it's basically a fixed fin. So I would detach my actual knee and everything below that, and I would hook this fin on, screw that in, boom, and I'd be in the water, and I began my training. Long story short, what I found out when I got down to dive school was the fin I was given was really designed for like 50, 60-year-olds who want to do some like aquatic classes. This thing is not a high-performance object designed for dudes of my size to go through something as rigorous.
But it got the ball moving. It got the ball moving, and look, you dealt with what you were given, like everything else you've done in your life, and even shit. Yeah, I mean, you're a lemonade making ass dude, man. Like, you understand? Like, it could have been potentially that had you now dug into your own leg and, you know, loosen up that tourniquet and stuff that combat gauze in there for that second time after you already said fuck it. Like, you could have it could have been true. You could have probably been done. But you're like, fuck it. If I got juice, I'm going to keep going. And it's badass, dude.
Yeah, man. You know, I mean, that's just the mindset of most of us. You know, you guys are the same. It's really nothing special or nothing different. But what ended up in that same capacity, because I had this fin that was really not providing me much through my training, through pre-dive, and through the first half of dive school, that's what I used. So my sound had to be strong enough to propel me to do all these things that I needed to do. Once I passed what's considered the most difficult gate of dive school, which is the one-man competency exam, to where most guys get dropped. Once I passed that, the command down at dive school reached out to a nonprofit to kind of come back to the original point called the Combat Wounded Veterans Challenge. And they do an annual event down in Key West where they bring a bunch of combat wounded guys, a bunch of amputees, and they do a lot of stuff in the water. They use the pool at dive school. They throw them in the ocean. They do a bunch of diving. Great stuff. The company commander at dive school reached out to those dudes and said, hey, check it out. I've got an amputee that's down here, the first amputee ever to come through here, and he's using this fin that is not strong enough for the things that he's going to need to do. Can you, the next day, 4 guys flew to Key West, 2 of which are prosthetists with an entire loadout of equipment and gear. And I spent about 4 hours in the pool after the day was over, trying out all these different things. That was when I found out ineffective my fin really was. They're like, who gave you this thing? This is awful. Like, this is the worst setup that you could have. We're going to hook you up. So they gave me a whole different design. When it came time, I went to navigation dives, which was kind of the next grade. My left leg had gotten so strong because it had to, that once they put a fin on me that was of greater length and provided more propulsion, I was flying through the ocean to the point where no one could really keep up with me. You know, it was it ended up being kind of a 180. So
did that fuck up?
Question originally.
Did that fuck up your times? Because I know you're supposed to do a fucking 100 meters in 3 minutes, especially when you're combat swimming. So how did that fuck up your times and your fucking night dives and shit?
it took a minute to work it out.
Yeah.
Because the first 4 nav dives I did a couple 500s and we did a couple 750s. It was with the original fin.
Right.
And I was drifting like crazy. So I was having to offset and kind of do some Kentucky windage to account for the different fin length and stroke to try to end up hitting my point. Well, when the dudes showed up that day, I spent that night getting the new rig. We splashed the next morning. This is a funny story.
Jesus,
this
so
dude's a good friend of mine. He won't mind me
badass.
telling it.
Well, so you got to redo but see what it is, you'll do a fucking pace line on 100 meters, right? And you get the fucking pace line down. It's supposed to take you approximately 3 minutes to do a fucking 100 yards. So if he's doing 3 minutes at 100 yards, but he has to crab, like a plane because of the fucking current, just because of that fin flexes like crazy. But he gets a real one that's fucking rigid that can actually push his big ass through the water. His fucking 3 minutes goes to a minute and 45 seconds. Jeez. So that fucks up his fucking dive plan from the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's accurate. So my pace time was completely off. When I got my new rig, my new setup, we were doing a 1,000 meter practice run. The following day was our graded 1,500. So we're doing a 1,000 meter. And this is the first time I'm using it's a free diving fin. So it's a really long fin that evens out my stroke. The senior instructor, the chief instructor, phenomenal dude. The day of our 1,000, which is the last time I have to actually practice, and the first time I'm on this new setup, he decides he's going to dive with me instead of my dive buddy, who's another student. He's like, I don't know how fast you're going to go on this thing, but I have a feeling you're going to be moving, and I don't want you to just smoke your dive buddy.
That's cool.
Because then when it's time for him to get to his run, he's exhaused. So I'm like, okay,
cool.
Roger that.
That's cool.
So we splash, and I'm diving with the chief instructor. And I take off, I'm doing my thing, I'm just going straight. We get about halfway through, and he grabs me, signals me, hey, we got to go to the surface. And he comes out, he's like, yeah, I'm having some issues, I can't catch my breath, whatever. I'm thinking there's something wrong with this rig. We're diving closed circuit, so there's a lot of things that could go wrong. I'm like, we good? Are we stopping? What are we doing? He's like, no, let's keep going. So we go back down, we keep going. We come up like 3 or 4 more times, and eventually we're about 250 meters from the shore. He's like, okay, we're done. I don't know what's going on. He jumps on a boat, I jump on the back of a jet ski, they take us back in, I reconfigure myself. I'm going through post dive. He comes over. I'm like, hey, dude, is everything all right? What happened to your? He's like, there's nothing wrong with my rig. He's like, you literally just smoked me. I could not keep up with you.
Smoked them.
Well, I mean, if you think about it,
that can't be the case.
Well, his 1,000 meters, it should have taken him about a fucking half hour, right?
Yeah.
But he probably did it in probably 18 minutes and just fucking smoke checked one of the senior instructors there. And this guy's supposed to be the fucking hard dick who's out there. So he's like, yeah, we're done.
He had enough foresight to know.
Well, he knows he's going to fucking crush the other student. He doesn't want to damage the other guy.
But not only that, it's also a form of measurement.
Right.
Because had it not been the senior instructor, he wouldn't have surfaced so much and called the boat at the end. He knew that no other dude would have been able to keep up with him, dude.
Right.
Hell yeah.
That's solid.
That's solid as shit.
Yeah, man. It was a funny turn of events. And, the following day we did the 1,500. And I did dive that with my dive buddy. And long story short, the grading criteria is based on accuracy and time. So the faster you are, the further off you can be from your point. And it's just an algorithm.
Yeah.
And I ended up coming in smack dab on target at the fastest time in the class, which is not me bragging. It's really
that's cool.
It's really talking about the guys that came down and fitted me with the rig, for one, and two, to the original training was such an ineffective device the entire time. Training up prior to, training up for pre-dive in the first half of dive school. My left leg was just such a beast that once I got something that kind of balanced it, I was out. And, and it obviously ended up well.
You proved a couple of things. One, you proved at a point to where an individual would get injured in combat, it's not over. He can still work if he puts his mind to it. Two, at certain points, the prosthesis and I've heard of this case before, prosthesis outperform our own limbs. I don't know. I think there was a guy that was doing running, sprint running, and he was a double amputee. And because he didn't feel nothing else below the knees or anything like that, his prosthesis, I mean, they just propelled him to break unbelievable records.
Well, and I didn't see the video, but if you can imagine, his left leg is so fucking strong, and then his right leg, especially he had the specialists out there. They took a fin that was that much stronger than the other one, so it compensated for how strong his left leg was. So now he's got seriously, two legs equally as strong, but his poor fucking swim buddy,
dude, he's
getting drugged,
dude. How
fighting the whole time.
How often could you be tailored by fucking engineers, dude?
Hey,
that's sick, dude.
Well, and not only that, he's on a dragger, which is a close. You can overbreathe that thing because there's condensation collecting inside the fucking. There's a channel in the bottom of it. So if you're overbreathing it and the fucking water's warm, you're overbreathing it. There's condensation going on. You're getting close to a caustic cocktail, and if you're hyperventilating on a fucking bag underwater, it's a whole different kind of fuck.
You're trailblazing, because right now I'm just thinking straight out the gate. Okay, then you're gonna have to switch out prosthesis once you fucking beach, and then now you're fucking game on. So now you're looking at new locations where you can fucking snug that prosthesis to where if you have to, hit the surf again,
leave it on his fucking dive gear. He crosses the beach, leaves it on his fucking dive gear, fucking puts his other one on, and he's mobile.
Dude, he's killing it for the rest of the game.
Forget about it.
Kudos, bro.
So after that, so you make it through dive school. That wasn't the end of your test to get back to be active and be going downrange again, was it?
No. So this dive school, this just happened.
He was already
a couple months ago.
He already proved himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was just some other shit he had to go through.
Well, I'm not that bright. And so let's hear about some of the tests that they had you do prior to clearing you to go active again. If you're cool with that.
Yeah, so absolutely, man. When I first got back to third group, again, after about a year at Walter Reed, I made my intentions clear from the beginning to every level of going back to this. And that was received well. And every single person said, okay, we support you. How's this going to work? And I said, well, I'm not ready yet, but I will be. In the meantime, I need a job. And I requested to be on the combatives committee. Just given my passion for the sport, they granted me that request. So I began instructing on combatives and CQB. So I did that for about 8 months. And at this point, my rehab is moving to a whole nother level. And I'm training with our Thor 3 strength and conditioning coaches. Nice. And I am pretty much out of my mind at this point. I'm training. It's like I'm doing mobility in the morning. Then I go straight to the gym for my strength training. Then I go to work and I'm teaching classes. On lunch, we're training open mat jiu-jitsu. I go back to teaching classes in the afternoon. In the evening, I'm doing my cardio and my endurance training. And then after that, I'm doing specific event training for some of the physical events that I know I'm going to be tested on. So it's just nonstop, eat, sleep, train. I'm consuming like 11,000 calories a day. I'm just out of my mind. I pretty much shut myself off to the rest of the world, and I was a lunatic. Looking back on it, I was really, really crazy and in a dark place. But that's what I felt like I needed to do. I felt like I needed to bury myself.
Some people turn into pieces of shit. You just
went
on it.
That was the only way it was going to happen.
Yeah, some people turn into pieces of poop, and you just went on it.
Well, did you? I got to go back here a couple seconds. Consuming fucking 11,000 calories a day.
Yeah, no.
And he's in the gym four times.
Yeah, it's going hard. Superhuman shit.
Dude, he ain't fucking playing.
No. And he's in the mindset, dude. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not in the mindset of. He's not in that defeatist mindset. Like,
I'm just opposite.
I'm marking time until they figure out clear me for medical, and then Nah, he's like, man, I'm gonna prove. Because he knew the question was going to come up. Was it in the back of your mind, Nick? Was it like, dude, these guys are going to fucking pimp me, and I better show up?
Right.
Yeah, I knew, and it turns out to be true, having had conversations with some of my senior leaders later on down the line, that they were supportive of me, but at no point did anyone really think that they would have to make that decision. The general assumption was at some point, there's a breaking point where he just decides, or this may be too too grand of a goal to reach. I knew that going in. I mean, I sat down with the group commander, and he's like, yeah, man, you have my support. And I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, you don't really think I have a chance. You know what? I don't blame you for that, but I'm going to show you
Game
that
on.
I do. So, it wasn't me against them. It was more just me being able to prove myself right, and I was willing to do whatever it took to make that. So for about 8 months, I was living that life, just train, teach, eat, sleep. That was it, nonstop. And around the 8-month mark, after being back, was when I decided I felt like I was ready to go. So I made that known. I said, hey, I want to take a shot at getting back to the team. And there really wasn't a laid out schedule or pipeline for me to follow.
Yeah, everything was brand new.
It's
brand new.
Your basic Army physical fitness. Okay, do that. Cool, you knocked that out. Okay, 12-mile ruck. Okay, go do that. Do this physical assessment. Okay, do that. They had me go back over to the 18 Bravo committee, which is where I learned how to be a Bravo in the Q course, and I went through a proficiency evaluation to make sure I could still do Bravo. They had me go through another psych screening eventually because I think at this point, some people thought I was legitimately out of my mind, like diagnosable crazy. And maybe I was, but after that, the psych's like, hey, he's no more crazy than he was before, or the rest of these guys. He's fine. The last event that they made me do, which at the time was just referred to as the return to duty test, and third group was the one that created it and spearheaded that. And it was because third group, again, owned Afghanistan, and they were getting way more combat wounded guys. And we got a lot of guys that are banged up that still want to be on the team. They decided they needed to make an evaluation specifically to assess someone's ability to go back to an ODA. I was the first above-the-knee guy to attempt it. It's a 12-event test. Now it's something that most of the groups use just as an assessment across the board. They use it to the operator readiness test. And different units use it different ways. Third group is still a requirement for a guy to take team sergeant. It's a requirement for every ODA to pass it on an annual basis. At the time, it was just for wounded guys. The day before I had to take the test, I walk into the gym just to kind of loosen up a little bit. I'm taking it the next morning. And the group command sergeant major and one of my good buddies, Chuck, they had just finished taking the test back on the team. So he took the assessment, and the group CSM just took it with him, just kind of as a battle buddy, just to get a taste of it. I walk in, and both these guys are just laid out on the turf, exhausted. Ooh. And the group CSM's like, hey, man, you ready for tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, roger that, Sergeant Major. He's like, cool. He's like, I'm going to be here for it. I'm like, great, sounds good. I knew doing so would just destroy me. So the way I trained for it, I would just take 2 or 3 of them, and I would just hammer them back and back and forth. Techniques. Just so the first time I was actually going to take the test, the entire thing was the day after. So I show up that morning. The entire group command team is there, battalion command, company command, and about 50 other dudes. They're all there, and they're all following me from event to event to event. It's 12 events, like I said, 50-pound weighted vests for all of them, caving ladders, jumping over walls, doing a lot of dynamic movements. Farmers carry sled drag. It's not you're going to the gym and trying to do a 1-rep max deadlift. These are all functional, dynamic movability to go back on an ODA to conduct combat operations. So the last event, which sounds easy, is a treadmill walk. And it starts off at 5-degree incline, and it increases by 5 degrees for 2 minutes until you're at a 45 degree. And it's really just a fast-paced walk. But you're wearing a 50-pound vest. You've already done 11 events prior. It's actually a smoke session, even for an able-bodied dude. Well, my problem with this was because of the lack of mobility in my hip, I'm walking up a hill that's that steep. I can't get my foot back in front of me because it's going to hit the ground behind me. Yeah. So I had to learn how to do that. The only way I could do it was once it hit a certain degree of elevation, I had to rotate and side shuffle up this treadmill. So that was the technique I went with.
Smart.
So it's at 25 degrees or 25%, which is a 45-degree incline. I've got 2 minutes left on this thing. And I'm side shuffling, right, which just looks crazy, and it's super exhausting. And I'm staring at my strength coach, who's in front of me now, and the lights are starting to go out, right? Like I'm losing peripheral vision. I'm about maxed out. And he's like, Nick, are you good? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm about to go down. He's like, well, just go for it. Just go.
Fucking go down. Fuck it.
Fuck it.
Go
Totally.
anymore.
Hell yeah.
30 seconds left. I catch my foot on the side of the treadmill. It knocks me off. I end up tumbling off the back. I've got like 25 seconds left. I scamper up. I get my bearings straight. I jump back on. I'm trying to get back on. I fall back off again. I'm not stopping. The company or the group sergeant major comes over and he grabs me as I'm trying to get back on the treadmill. And I got like 10 seconds left. And he's like, Nick, I think I felt really upset, and I'm also trying not to pass out. And he looks at me and he goes, if I hadn't taken this test myself yesterday, and if I wasn't here to see you do this myself, I would not believe you just did what you just did.
Same as
And
his dive instructor.
Roger that, Sergeant Major, but I didn't complete this event.
Yeah, you did.
He goes, the way this is an evaluation. This is an evaluation for me to determine if I have enough trust in you putting you back on a team. And I said, okay, well, do you? And he looks over at the group commander who's standing there, and he goes, hey, Sergeant Major, this is your decision, but I don't know how you're going to tell this guy no after what we've just put him through for the last 3 months. All these different assessments, it was like a 90-day process. And then sure enough, CSM goes, all right, man, you'll have your orders tomorrow, and you're going back to your team.
Hell yeah.
The next week, on the team, same ODA I was on before, and they were already in their train up because about a month or so after that, I was back in Afghanistan.
It's crazy. So, was there any like period, like a gap from when you executed? Well, where you were basically at that unit, the command, the combat tactics unit. Was there a point there where you kind of the future wasn't really set for you, but while training and doing CQB, it dawned on you still got it. You could still do this.
Yeah, man. I mean, so I knew early. I'm not talking Walter Reed, inpatient. This was the goal, right? My mind was set immediately. I had no idea if it was possible, how I was going to do it, but that was where my mind was from day one, or at least once I was off of enough drugs to realize what was going on. That was the mission. As I'm instructing, and I'm out on the range, and we're doing CQB, and I'm having to relearn all of these things that I know how to do well. Right? I'm able to teach it because I can verbalize.
And it's different when you're teaching.
A student through.
Yeah, it's different when you're in an instructor cadre.
It's different.
Yeah, you just learn everything because they're gonna pimp you on it. They're gonna ask you, so you're like, I'm gonna learn everything. You're not pimping me.
Yeah, it's as I began to do more things became apparent that I needed to learn how to do. And this got down to the nitty gritty. And I was telling Steve about this. It got to the point where I was drilling getting in and out of a Humvee. I was drilling getting in and out of a MATV. I was drilling getting off the back of a MATV. I was drilling getting...
You motivated me, baby.
Get back. All right. So these little tiny, minute tasks that I obviously had taken for granted for the first 30 years of my life as a two-legged guy, all of a sudden became really challenging. And you don't recognize those small, tiny movements until you have to do it. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this right now. How do I even get out? How do I get into the truck? I don't know. I haven't tried. I haven't had a need to do that yet. Okay. Let's try this. And it was the same type of methodology that I used when I was training for the return to duty test. All these different movements that I had never tried before. You just get in there and it's like you're going into the workshop, man. And, I was lucky to have guys around me to help me out and say, try this, try that. I have guys videoing me, putting me on a stopwatch, seeing what was faster, what was slower, what was more functional, what was more efficient, and just trial and error until you find something that looks like it may be the way to go, and then just drill it incessantly. So when I was deployed back to Afghanistan in 2015, my first trip as an amputee, that was a busy trip. I mean, that was kinetic, direct action deployment.
Still direct
but
action.
In between operations, 100%. In between missions, I'm spending hours drilling different things that I would realize on an operation, oh boy, okay, I haven't had to figure this one out yet. Let's hope that nothing goes wrong now. So when I get back to the house, I can practice, and it would just be these small little things, getting more. I'm up, I grab it, I jump off, we're good. Now it's like, okay, this is going to take a minute. How can I relocate the tube? Where can I put the plate? Where can I put the rounds? How do I actually climb up and climb back down? How can I change these little small variables to speed up time and make it more efficient? I was doing shit like that all night. My teammates, they got used to it. At first, they're like, dude, you need to get some sleep. I'm like, get away from me. I have to figure out how to get the mortar off the back of the truck. They're like, all right, man, like, let us know if you need any help. So it was busy and it was challenging. And to make matters just more complex, all the way up through our entire command, up to SOCOM, even beyond SOCOM, up through Washington, there was a lot of visibility on the fact that I was there doing what I was doing. And I don't want to say people were expecting me to fail or waiting for it, but if one thing significant had gone wrong, they would have yoked me off that team in 2 seconds. And no ODA wants that much visibility on what we're doing. But my guys, man, to give them credit, and my ODA leadership is phenomenal. They were like, no, dude, we'll handle that. Don't worry about it. We want you here. Let's just keep working at this stuff. And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I would dare to, how when you said the psych, reported back, oh, well, this guy ain't crazy. He's no crazier than he was before he lost his leg. At every point, I think everyone could testify that you shouldn't be portrayed as crazy. It's more consistency. You portray consistency more than anything. Everything you've done, even after, it's almost like you didn't skip a beat. Man, and that's an important thing to highlight, because there's guys that, and I don't want to say feel sorry for themselves. That's a lack of, for the lack of a better term. It's just they lost. They don't know, woe is me, and now I got to figure out basic things. And where you were already, I gotta stay on my game. That's like you're teaching people that is in a whole other mindset you can adopt to this. My question is, have you ever had a moment to where you kind of felt a little sorry for yourself?
Man, I'll start by saying there is no way to mentally prepare what it's like to go through a traumatic event until you go through it. I don't care how many counseling sessions, what you do, prayer, all that stuff is great. There's no way to prepare for it, right? The realization of, in my instance, looking down at my legs gone, there's no way to prepare for that, right? So because of that, there is no shame in how someone deals with that on the onset, right? Depression, dark place, whatever. It's understandable. I to that place, and that's not something to brag about. It's not something to be proud of, right? Because if it was opposite, that's also nothing to be ashamed of,
that's right?
Right? It's fun. He was with me for the first 6 months at Walter Reed, and part of the early on assessments, the psychs are coming in, the behavioral therapists are coming in, they're checking up on your well-being, which is great. And at one point I'm passed out, and I just got out of surgery, and the psych comes in, and I'm sleeping, and he talks to my father, and I had been telling the psych the entire time, I'm going back to the team. He has a conversation with my father, and he goes, hey, man, listen, Nick keeps talking about going back to the ODA. And what I think is happening is he doesn't quite understand the severity of the situation. So I want you to be prepared for when that realization kicks in, he could go down a very dark. And I just want you, as his father and as the guy that's here with him, to be ready for that. And my father looked at him and just said, hey, Doc, I hear what you're saying. I appreciate it. But he knows what's going on. This is just who he is.
Sounds
and again,
like my dad.
This isn't anything to brag about. It's just that was the mission from the very beginning. At no point did I feel sorry for myself and woe is me. That said, I had a million downfalls. I failed constantly, and none of us like to do that. It's a shitty feeling, but it's absolutely necessary to be failure all the time. And for me, especially back then, that was pretty easy to do, right? You try to walk too fast and you're going to wipe out, right? You try to pick something up that's too heavy and you're going to fall over.
Yeah.
That was constant. And, I dealt with that, like most of us would, with anger and frustration. I'd pick something up and throw it and yell and just get right back to doing what I needed to do. And so there were definitely a lot of like downfalls. I hit a lot of ruts, but I never was in a really woe is me, I feel sorry for myself kind of place. I think I just, again, launched my mind into a prison where success was the only option. And I was not willing to accept anything other than that. And I knew I had to go through a lot of pain and frustration, and I was willing to do that because I love what I do and wanted back to doing what I do. And I want to go back to supporting my brothers who want me back there with them. This is what it takes. So I just didn't have time to feel bad for myself when things didn't go my way.
Yeah.
I just didn't have time for it.
So Nick, question, because to me it's a given, especially someone going through as much trauma as you went through, physical trauma. I like to speak on it because I think this is a subject that I think it's super prevalent now, and I think that's even why we're here. Talk about the drugs, because I know you went through a heavy barrage of freaking painkillers and shit like that. How did you navigate out of that? Because you're fucking on point right now.
Yeah, so in the onset, it was, I didn't have voice in the matter because I was incoherent and unconscious most of the time, in and out of surgery, and that's the way it was for the first 8 or 9 weeks. Once my surgeries tapered off and I was in outpatient status, I was living at an apartment on Walter Reed, and I would just go to all my medical appointments, physical therapy, whatever I needed to do. I was still on pain meds. But early on, I realized that they were a detriment to my success. And I was living in the clouds, and I would think as fast as I needed to. And you guys that have been on any kind of opioid, it has an effect, right? I didn't like it. And I decided I was going to taper myself off of those. I was also on medication to combat my phantom limb pain, which I still deal with today. Because that was also making me foggy. So I just started tapering myself off of my pain management meds and my nerve pain management meds myself. And at one point I had a conversation with one of the docs, and he basically told me I couldn't do that, which I kind of found funny then. I still find it funny now. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to like hold me down and like shove it down my throat? Like I'm not taking this stuff anymore. And he, of course, was looking out for my best interest. He's like, it's still really early on. I don't want it to shock your body and have a negative spiral effect. I'm like, well, we'll deal with that when it happens. And, he was right to a degree. I mean, it was painful. My pain increased. But once I was in the gym and I was training, I was on the jiu-jitsu mat, that's where my mind was focused. And I didn't think about the pain anymore. But I think a lot clearer. I was able to function better. I was performing better. So, yeah, I was in more physical discomfort, but my performance and increased performance ability superseded the physical pain I was in. And eventually, my need for it, just kind of went away.
That's amazing. That's important to say. You are, like I said, a trailblazer. So it's important, to even note that at each point, at each juncture, he was doubted, but
he kept at it.
So, it's they're out there.
Oh, no. And if you heard him, he talked about going to his dark place, right?
Yeah.
But to him, his dark place was hitting the gym 3 times a day, teaching 2 different classes, on CQB and combatives. Yeah. His dark place was filled with activity where he was retraining his body, he was learning new skills, and he was giving back to the younger soldiers that are going out there and going down range. So when you talk about dark place, whether that's drinking or whatever the hell that's doing, he turned it completely the opposite way. So that's fucking phenomenal.
That's amazing to note in and of itself that is a rehab that I would put my name on it, instead of dipping to the pills and the drinking and if you want to kill yourself in the gym and doing jujitsu, do that shit, because them endorphins that you release are super fucking beneficial.
And not only that, with the opioids, the thing about the opioids, the guys, they get addicted to them and shit. and he talked about it. Everything is slower.
Yeah.
Everything is slower. You don't perform. Your body doesn't do anything. Your brain doesn't fucking work. And it's like we talked about before with the guys with fucking drinking. It's mathematically impossible to cure depression with a fucking depressant. So he did it the exact opposite. He did the fucking endorphins, and he did the fucking buzz from the working out, and the buzz from getting this goal, and the buzz from getting that goal. So he got rid of he dealt with the depression with positive on top of positive on top of positive. Whether it's physical discomfort or an endorphin release, it's still a positive.
More importantly, fucking making history.
Dude,
history,
well,
my
and
brother.
then we talked about it earlier. That photograph of him.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine how fucking scared the
know
fucking
what?
Taliban was when
More
they
so-
see this fucking guy?
More so.
And he's got a fucking fake leg and he just kicked everybody's ass? Get the fuck out of here.
More so, to me, what I'm picturing is, and I don't know, Nick, tell me if this is the case. Is your prosthetic leg fucking on a plaque at dive school? And if not, is it on a plaque in your house?
So I have a couple. So the prosthetic that you're talking about that's
Yes,
in that photo, I still have it. And the
Hang that
guys
shit,
at
man.
the Special Operations Museum out at Fort Bragg, I was set to give it to them. Well, as like a year ago, they were going to stay. To answer your question, that leg has been requested to be in a couple different museums, and my dive fin the same as well. So I have no use for either of them.
I tell you what, if I could make a suggestion,
I'll give it to whoever ends up wanting it.
may I be as bold as to make a suggestion if they would have it at the dive school? That is about the most motivating piece of art to look at.
Well, especially for all the fucking young hard dicks
With
going
two
there,
legs,
man.
with two
Oh,
motherfucking
totally.
legs. They could look up in the morning and say, yeah, let's go, splash.
That's it, man. Let's get this shit done. Fucking look what Nick did.
Fuck yeah.
That's good shit, man. Well, any non-for-profits, any charities, anything we can fucking shout out for you, anybody we can help out for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, absolutely. So I already mentioned them once, but Combat Wounded Veteran Challenge, those are the guys that came down to dive school for me and really changed the game for me.
Badass.
Which is crazy. Yeah. I also support a nonprofit called Risk and Return. That's an up-and-coming one. It's really, its mission is to empower the existing nonprofits that are out there rather than fill a specific gap. But look, I got associated with, I'm still with them today. It's local. It's up out of Boston. It's called the Boston Wounded Vet Run, and it's an annual motorcycle run. I was an honoree for them back in, I want to say it was 15 or 16. Amazing organization. 100% proceeds go back to a handful of veterans that they decided the honorees, for that particular year. And, these guys are just, any opportunity that I have to enter with guys that are working in that space is just an honor. Actually, this Friday, to throw another plug out there, there is the first annual Combat Dive Foundation and Military Free Fall Foundation annual fundraiser. This is the first year. They're doing it joint, so it's called the Jump and Dive
I dig it.
fundraiser. It's it's a virtual thing. Now 2020 with COVID, everyone's doing virtual stuff. But it airs on Friday. I did a couple short segments for those guys. And actually, to what we were just talking about, the Combat Diver Foundation, their mission really is to preserve the history of the combat diver. And I was telling them that I still have my fin from when I was down there. And they're like, dude, can we get that? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So they're actually looking to build their own museum specifically for combat divers. So I imagine my little Finding Nemo fin will find its way into those halls at some point here in the future.
And this is like their inaugural year, their first year they're throwing the shindig. Yeah, that's a headstone what you'll be bestowing upon them.
That's
right
good
there.
shit right there, man. That's a cornerstone.
Hey, I want to throw out there, I've been dying and hold it in, but I tattooed David Ortiz. I tell people from Boston that all the time. They go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that dude is awesome. I
What'd you
tattooed
put
him and
on?
his daughters. I covered a tribal. This is after he was injured. So I went up to his location, up in, I want to say it was right on the edge of Massachusetts, but he had a tribal on his neck, and I covered it with a Jesus, I guess, he was going through what we go through. You know what I mean? When you get hit and, you start to restructure your things and things start to line up for you in perspective. And you know, it's a beautiful time when you know we reach that point of calamity. You know, everything after that is just clear. Yeah, but he was there, man. Awesome dude. Awesome dude. Great hospitality. And I tell you, I love how you Boston dudes stick together. Because you can't, you know, you ask a New Yorker, like, are you a Yankees fan? That's a question for a New Yorker. Believe it or not. But Boston, you don't dare ask that. It's default. You're a Boston fan.
Yeah, there's only one option up there, brother. That's it.
Right on, bro. Well, hey, if you're ever down here, be sure to fucking hook us up, man. Come down, link up with us. We'll take you out to dinner. JD will throw some fucking ink on you or whatever.
I'd love to.
I don't know.
I'm collecting Boston legends over here.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. I'll be looking forward to it, man. Absolutely.
Well, it's been a fucking absolute honor having you on, Nick. We appreciate you, everything you're doing, and anything we can do for you, fucking reach out, please.
Yeah.
Nah, man. We'll actually absolutely do that, man. As soon as we're able to travel and the world goes back to normal, count me in, man. Come down, we'll have a drink, throw some ink. And, dude, I appreciate everything you guys do, man. I listened to a bunch of your guys' episodes.
Thank you, brother.
Before coming on here. You know, you guys are real. You guys are down to earth. You're gritty. You guys don't sugarcoat and you don't dance around stuff. And I completely support what you guys do.
Thank you, brother.
I'm a fan. I'm going to remain a fan. So just, you know, keep doing what you're doing, man, because it makes a difference, sincerely.
Well, and just so you know, and I get a little bit of fucking heat from this, I always say fucking SF guys are just like SEALs, but professional. Oh, you got it. Good.
So, Nick, I would like to say, if you can, pass it on to Big Army, the PAO. Thank you. Thank you for allowing them to share you with us, man. I appreciate it. 'Cause you're still in it, you know what I mean? And this is huge. This is huge for the guys that have been to where you are and are where you are. Massive. Thank you. Thank you for being a spokesperson for this. And listen, I can't think of anybody stronger and more befitting of such a just to me the trailblazing title, man. You are that motherfucker, dog.
Totally. Nothing but love and respect for you, man. Anything we can fucking do, please reach out.
Likewise, boys. I appreciate it, man. We'll talk soon.
Right on. Much appreciated, bro. You take good care.
Guys.
Out. Dude, that fucking cat. We're going to have to clean up a bunch of the audio.
Nah,
on his
he got
side.
it. He
got
notes.
it?
Yeah, he was taking notes.
No, right on. Dude, that fucking guy. Holy shit.
Nah, man.
What do you think, Paulie? That fucking guy? Holy Christ.
Oh, my bad. Dude, man, I almost jumped out of my goddamn seat. It's so motivating, man.
I know. I saw you getting all fired up over there.
Yeah, I want to go make something.
That's a hard-ass motherfucker, bro.
That motherfucker hard. Yeah. Shit.
Dude, that fucker's harder than a case of woodpecker lips right there.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but you said it better. Yeah.
Woodpecker lips.
That's right.
Yeah. God damn.
Nothing but fucking love for that guy. Well, the first above-the-knee amputee reassigned to his original fucking combat unit.
Yeah, but
That's
not
good
on
shit.
Not on no
fucking
slimy
pansy-ass-
booger shit, dude.
No, this
like,
ain't no gate guard shit neither. He's kicking fucking doors in and smoking moose.
I would like to point out a consistent attribute of individuals that make it to that point.
Right?
You know, in special operations, say, you have no quit.
Right. None.
Quit doesn't exist. Matter of fact, your muscle failure, that is an option prior to quitting.
Well, except to maybe quit drinking and doing drugs and whoring around.
Yeah, we could quit that shit.
You quit that shit.
That's too easy.
I had a first sergeant, dude. Fucking, I don't know, Rosenborough. First sergeant Rosenborough.
Yeah.
Oh, crusty son. He hated me, dude. So one day he had a fucking scar like on his throat, and he's smoking a cigarette there. And I remember, I'm just like, first sergeant, why you? What's
up
with
with
the
that
scar?
scar?
And
Yeah.
he goes, I had throat cancer. And I look at him and I said, you still smoking, first sergeant? And he goes, yeah, any pussy could quit. It takes a real man to fight cancer.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I was flabbergasted. I was like, I got nothing.
Dude, talking about fucking fighting cancer. How about that fucking Beetlejuice bitch in fucking Chicago?
She looked like she
Jesus
got
Christ.
cancer. She got the Panda Bay art.
Motherfucker, she is cancer. You ever see her fucking ass?
Dude, she looks like Skeletor.
Dude, Mayor fucking Lightfoot in Chicago.
She's a
fucking
evil fucker, ain't
dude,
she?
fucking wrote a law banning fucking protests in her neighborhood, which is directly against the fucking Constitution. And If that's not the firm example of communism, I don't know what is.
Socialism,
Taking your fucking limited resources
Yep.
and protecting the fucking top of the food chain instead of letting those resources protect everybody else.
You know, so what I'm starting to see, actually, this is. So we've seen it. They own media. They own the perception.
Yeah, right.
They own the perception. And up to this point, perception was reality.
Right.
Now you take it to the streets, everybody fed up. You know what they fed up with?
Bullshit.
Walking to the gas station and forgetting your mask in the car.
Yep.
And having to go back. Making you even wonder, do I even want that motherfucking Powerball? You know what I'm saying?
You know what else they're fed up with? They're fed up with all their fucking family and friends that lost their fucking jobs and all these small businesses that were completely decimated because of this bullshit.
You know what else they're fed up with? They're fed up with them letting their homeboys get off on raping little kids with minimal sentences and, you know, hooking them up with fucking stays in their places of business for their sentencing and shit like that. I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Dude, how about that shit? Fucking Epstein, the fucking Epstein fucking documents are out, right? Fucking Bill Gates and fucking Bill Clinton. All over that motherfucking island with that cat, right? Not one fucking sentence out of the media about it. Nobody defending it. Nobody fucking going after him. Nobody saying a fucking word.
It's a dark time for Bills, dude. Dark time for Bills, man.
You might want to change your name if
Yeah,
your name.
yeah,
Well, speaking
Bill
of,
Murray. I fucks with Bill Murray.
Bill, I
Hopefully
gotta
he
say,
ain't
Bill,
putting boogies in little kids' butts, man.
Bill fucking, no, he's not.
I
Bill
hope not.
Loftus.
You don't know, 'cause
Bill
you-
Loftus, at Softest Loftus on fucking Instagram. That guy has done us a fucking huge solid.
man,
He put us in
Bill,
touch with Nick
yes.
Lavery.
Shout out to Bill.
Oh my
bro.
God. Bill has fucking hooked us up with some fucking phenomenal guests.
That kid,
young
he's
fucking
got-
fire captain and
Yeah,
shit.
He's got a hell of a future ahead of him.
I know, he's
he's
solid dude.
Yeah, he's actually joining. He's going in.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, and I want to give him a shout out too because he just completed the Mitch Aguilar
Yeah?
smashing green
Oh, he
sandwich.
lost a lot of weight to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he did.
lost about-
13 pounds.
Yeah, he did awesome on that. Good job, Bill.
No, he did all 11 days, dude. I only did 6. I got to tell
Yeah,
you.
he asked me if he can come down here today to link up, and I was like, I got this thing at the range, and then we got the whole podcast thing, and he goes, yeah, because I got a date with a Puerto Rican girl. I was like,
Yeah, boy, that's what I'm talking about.
my man Bill.
I'm telling you, everybody in this room's got a thing for brown girls.
Yeah, well, shit, they're
That's
the
what I'm
best,
saying.
bro. Yeah, you know why?
Because they're sweeter, that's why.
no, man, and they're also
Because
fucking-
they'll get crazy and stab your ass.
Yeah, and we're used to instability. We're used to that dude, a relationship that's just vanilla and totally, it's like, this is boring. But when you come home and you go to bed with fear in your heart, man, that shit is exciting. It brings you back.
It put you in a dark place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not only that, if you fuck up too bad, she'll stab you.
Yeah, it's like the necessary anchors we were talking about.
Brother, why do you think I'm with one? Get the fuck out of
Yeah,
here.
like, look here, I need you.
you know it. You know
I
it.
need you. Because if you
know-
wasn't here, I wouldn't be scared.
Oh, you better,
Oh, yeah,
She's all quiet and shit, but she'll
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 cut
fucking
you.
cut you in a minute.
She'll cut you with an antique knife. She goes antiquing, guys. It's a private joke.
No, she'll do. She's me, dude. I got knives and guns laying around everywhere. I get fucking stabbed up or hit with a fucking axe, man. There ain't no telling.
I strategically place shit in my house, in New York City, so I can't have much. But I got a lot of GLG fucking, shanks fucking all strategically placed around the
Oh
house.
fuck yeah, dude. GLG, man. GLG,
GLG
knives.
knife
Motherfucker
works.
got it going on, John.
Yeah, John.
Good old fashioned John. Love that.
Keeping
guy.
my family safe. Thank you, John.
That's what I'm talking about. Keeping lots of people safe.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got the fucking shooting course coming up next weekend.
Yes, we do.
August 29th and 30th. We're doing intro to long range with fucking at Bounty Hunter JD, at J Delgado Tattoos, and at Riding with Paul. Going to be doing the instructing. I'm going to be doing a little bit of basic fucking pistol and a little bit of basic rifle down on the lower range. And hopefully we got that fucking cocksucker at Harold Hugh coming up. But if the fucking asshole can't figure out how his fucking watch works, he might be in fucking intensive care. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Old Ninja Turtle ass looking motherfucker.
Ninja Turtle looking Harold back there behind the camera.
God damn.
Gotta love
He's the
that
fifth
motherfucker.
Ninja Turtle, Harold.
Harold.
Yeah.
God damn it, Harold.
Donatello, Michael, Raphael.
And Harold.
Michelangelo, and Harold.
Speaking of ranges, I got pulled over twice today.
We got pulled over twice. Headed
Twice.
upstate, dude.
Why?
By state troopers.
Were you driving fast?
Not
Not
really.
really.
70. It's 70 on a freeway, dude.
Is it the freeway up there, 70?
I mean, it's a small freeway. Throughway? I don't know.
I don't pay attention to signs. I
So
just
what
go.
happened?
So the first time I'm like,
Were you smoking weed?
no. But the first time I'm like, I forget Paul's a fucking detective.
Right.
So I'm like, shit, Paul, I told you he was there. Paul's like, relax, man. So we get pulled over. Paul gives him the card. Motherfucker says, go on your way. Good shit. So we take off and we're talking shit into an hour in. So, whoop, another fucking cop car pulls up behind him. I'm like, what the fuck, Paul? Because he wasn't going fast. But we can see when they're trailing off to us. So we'll pull over. He comes up and this dude was set to bone someone hard and dry. Because when he showed up, Paul goes, I'm sorry, man, and handed him his cards. And then before he grabbed Paul's cards, he goes, yeah, you all are sorry until I catch you. And then he saw his Paul card, and he goes, all 40,000 of you. He passes it over to Paul again, and then we go out of the way.
All 40,000 of you.
But he had like this gay ass purple mask.
Oh, he looked like a pamper.
Because you know they have that
Because
purple
they got a
tie?
match there. They're all drill instructor and shit.
No
They're
way.
fucking Cuomo's Gestapo.
He's wearing a mask?
I'm not
Yeah.
disrespecting state troopers in general, but I don't like your boss.
Why is he wearing a mask? He got to?
Because he's fucking. He is the policing arm of the Democratic
Gayness.
Party, dog.
The first guy didn't have a mask though.
Did he ask to blow
Because
you?
he's a gangster. The dude with the fucking stick up his butt.
Yeah.
Are you all sorry? He's the one with the pamper on his face. You know?
He wanted to blow you,
Yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah, he was a little.
He
upset.
said, "Can I see your wiener?"
So on
Sir,
his way back
sir,
to the
you're
car.
driving 70. Let me see your wiener.
Yeah, on his way back to the car, I mumbled under my breath because I ain't as gangster as Paul. I was like, "You gotta go back to the city sometime, motherfucker." Saying, that's right. I felt like I was NYPD at that time. Ooh, Paulie, have you ever seen this guy down there, Paulie?
The best is every time they'd pull up behind us, Jason's like, "Oh, what the hell is that?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, hold on a second, here we go."
Yeah.
Because I can see
I'm
him
not
from like a
used to that
fucking mile
shit.
away, and I'm like, "Oh, here we go." I'm pulling out my fucking.
But I'm in
ID card.
civilian mode, so I spot him before Paulie spots him. Because Paulie drives like he's a cop. You know what I'm saying?
Does he?
Yeah, because he's a cop. And I'm like, oh shit, look, the state trooper. Paulie's like,
I'm just fucking cruising along.
I
It's
hate
fucking,
you. I be getting scared. I be forgetting. I'm like, oh.
That's fucking funny.
First guy's like, "Yo, you heading home?" I'm like, "Yeah, whatever."
It's like fucking 9 a.m. What do you mean heading home? He gave you a New York
Yeah,
City
I was
license.
up all night banging your wife.
No, I would
No?
have been. Paulie,
No?
not with me in the car, Paulie. Not with me. I got bad luck with cops.
Fucking shootout and shit.
Yeah, they like to punch me for some reason. I don't know.
That's why we're
You
right.
got a punchable face.
I got a bit more. I just want to punch your ponytail.
I just want to punch your ponytail while I'm hitting it from behind.
Whoa, Steve.
You know that's what they're thinking.
Okay,
They
cool.
see that fine Puerto Rican ass up there. They're like, I want him.
Thank you, man.
With that tattoo on your neck and shit.
I do look hot, don't I?
I'm not a fag, but if I was, I'd be fucking you.
Thank you, Steve.
Just saying.
Appreciate you, bro.
Dude, appreciate you. And what the fuck? This fucking bullshit. This fucking nonsense with this fucking fake ass virus shit. 99.6% fucking survival rate. Everybody in the world is afraid of each other now. Everybody in the world is afraid of each other.
But they know it's bullshit.
Exactly. Stand fucking 6 feet away. Don't fucking breathe on me. Don't fucking shake
here's
hands.
the best
Don't do
part.
this. Don't do that.
You walk into this gas station, they're like, "Where's your mask, motherfucker? Your shit's under your nose." And then if you got a mask, why are you worried if I have a mask?
Dude, the whole
The
thing.
mask works, right? The mask works because Fauci said it works. Okay, you got yours on.
And
Don't worry
and
about
you
me
see
committing
that-
suicide.
You see that motherfucker Fauci watching a fucking baseball game with his mask around his neck, lying bastard.
Fauci's a huele bicho. That's what Fauci is.
I don't know what that means, but
He's
it
a
sounds
cock smeller.
dirty.
He's a cock smeller.
The cock smeller
He could tell you what fucking
smells like cheese and
Yeah.
cabbage.
summer of '93. Knowing him, that dirty bastard.
Dude, did you ever? You've been out in the field for a long time.
Yeah.
Put your hand under your nutsack and then smack somebody in the nose.
That's gross.
Oh my god!
You never did that?
No, because hell no, that's crazy. You get killed in the Marine
you
Corps. for that,
tried.
bro.
Yeah, you will.
And then especially when you got all the paraffin on the bottom hairs of your balls because you sweat so much and it
Yeah.
looks like little candlesticks hanging up. No? Am I the
Yeah.
only one? Okay, cool.
No.
Thanks, man. I thought I was the only one.
No, you're not the only one.
Yeah, it looks crazy. It looks like icicles
crusty.
hanging off your balls. It's gross.
Well, but I've been shaving my testicles for fucking 28 years. Though,
no,
so.
I like going streamline. I like
Streamline?
getting aerodynamic for the ladies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I did it because I was putting on external urinary catheters. I got tired of pulling the hair out.
Well, I hate it when the relationship progresses to almost, a living in situation, and then now, I just don't. I feel uncomfortable shaving, knowing they're in the fucking on the premises. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why. Because I mean, I'm self-conscious of the sound. Turn it, and they're like, "What's he doing in there?" And then I come out and my hair's not cut. They know. Mm-hmm. They know.
So what? You don't hear the fucking vibrator kick on?
I don't know why I'm embarrassed.
No?
I like playing with vibrators and women. I dig it.
It is a favorable mutation. I must agree.
And I like when the vibrator goes. Yeah, that's the best. I go deep with it.
We're drilling for oil, boys. We're drilling for oil.
Oh shit, the Army's gonna listen to this like, Nick, this is not good.
No, dude, motherfucker's a fan. He knows we're gonna be talking fucking mad shit.
You knew it, Nick. You knew it.
Dude, he's got a fucking above the knee amputation. He's done some fucking freaky shit. Come on. And he's a fucking warrant officer now with fucking either 13 or 16 years in. Dude's been there, done that.
He's killing it, man. Great job, bro. This is a good episode.
This is a fucking great episode. Nothing but fucking beautiful things to say about that guy. Totally fucking killing it. And this other thing, this fucking Black Lives Matter bullshit, totally fucking fabricated by fucking Antifa, who the fucking majority of those cocksuckers are white, kicking fucking black dudes out of Black Lives Matter fucking protests and shit. Doing every single thing they can to fucking keep the American population afraid of each other. And the fucking reality is that ain't on the fucking streets. That ain't the real deal, man. Yeah, that ain't the real deal.
That's my point. We're starting to realize that the perception is just that. Right. Because now we're actually out here, and it's all love. It's all love. And everybody's already fed up with the mass shit. So like I said, man, it was a double-edged sword that's winding up. It's turning out to give them cuts.
Man, I hope that bitch fucking turns around and sings out and starts slicing fucking faces off, man.
I think it's inevitable, my brother, because people don't like being fucked with.
Dude.
That's one thing history has shown us. We does not likes to be fucked with.
Well, not only that, fucked with, fucking lied to, fucking held down, oppressed, fucking took all their jobs away, destroyed their fucking businesses and shit. I can't believe that there hasn't been more civil unrest, not so much against people, but people against the fucking bureaucracy.
Well, we'd allowed this to ensue right underneath our noses. Like, we have a system that's not an oligarchy where we fucking, uplift fucking royals of a specific bloodline.
Did you hear that fucking word?
Was that the right one?
That's a right word. That's some shit right there, motherfucker.
I was sweating not because of the heat, but because of the word.
No, that's the right word, man. God damn.
That in and of its, thinking about that, we literally have dynasties. The Clintons, the Bushes. We're uplifting these dynasties of their children coming in, and they're, Trump Jr., or actually his daughter's probably going to run because she's been there side by side him the whole time. She might be the first female president, to tell you the truth.
I hope.
But, we'll see what this new dawn brings, I guess.
Bro, what about fucking the creepy fucking sniffer and the chick that threw all the black dudes in fucking jail for fucking stupid fucking weed offenses?
Pandering.
Who fucking blew her way to fucking into political office?
And another, two things. I'll talk about that. But another thing, it is what it is. But she wasn't black until she needed to be black.
She ain't black. She's fucking Indian and Jamaican. Her family can trace her back. Their family are fucking documented.
But they're pandering.
Slave owners.
They're pandering. The DNC convention was disgusting. It was
they
a pander
were in
fest.
the fucking slave trade.
They had fucking talking points. It was disgusting. It was horrible.
Dude, they had Clinton up there?
Kamala Harris talked openly about her distrust of Joe Biden and his allegations of rape or sexual misconduct.
Allegations against him. She was behind all those women.
Exactly. And then now he tells her, here's the VP pick, and I love you, Joe. But I will want to say about the whole her being, blowing and being a fucking Lucy the Goosey, that. I'm gonna tell you something. We keep hitting her on that. You got to understand where this society is. We have women like Cardi B on the top of the food chain that burp and fart and openly talk about. I love Cardi B, don't get me wrong, because she's 100% her, and I dig it. She's making the thing. But this is what the society loves. So to make a point about her fucking throwing cocks in her mouth and shit just for fucking advancement, dude, you're just going to make people become enamored with her even more. This society's sick as shit, dude.
Well, who knows? Maybe she'll fucking hum the national anthem on our meat whistles. What do you think?
I dig it.
With that, we should close the show.
That's a That's a horrible way to close the show.
What, Kamala Harris humming the national anthem on your meat whistle? She'll be playing the Gurkle game on Little Jason.
There we go. I was waiting for that one. Now we can leave.
All right.
The Gurkle
All right.
game.
We're going to leave with the Gurkle game. If you just think about it, Gurkle, Gurkle, Gurkle.
It sounds like.
Oh, fuck, that's funny.
Sorry, guys.
All right. We are out, you filthy fucking meat sacks.